are emerging, more horror, more characters, and more Nerdist news. It has been so long since we've heard anything about Stranger Things that we were worried the Duffer Brothers had left the country. But the curiosity door to Hawkins, Illinois is once again reopened at a recent Netflix event where executive producer Shawn Levy offered some insight as to what we may expect from the show. In an interview with CNN, Levy said that the sophomore season will be more intense than anything that came before it, with the Hawkins AV Club crew coming up against some, quote, darker threats. Now, darker threats is a pretty bold claim for a show that already put a bunch of kids toe-to-toe against an anthropomorphic, flower-faced demon. So how will Stranger Things get even grimmer when it returns for season 2 this October? Well, we have a few ideas, and we're breaking them down right now. Should we say spoilers? Spoilers! First up, what are these darker threats? While season 1 drew some inspiration from classic horror movies like Poltergeist and Nightmare on Elm Street, the majority of its influences were pretty kid-friendly, with most of the plot feeling like a mashup between Goonies and E.T. But this new season seems to be taking cues from more sinister sources, like this scene from the Super Bowl trailer. Now, the shot itself echoes a similar setup from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but that's no awe-inspiring UFO knocking at the door. That's a Cthulhu-ish beast straight up from the pages of H.P. Lovecraft. And then there were the reports of Dustin getting a new pet from the Upside Down called a pollywog. And sure, that sounds cute, but so were the Mogwai before they transformed into a pack of murderous gremlins. And since season 2 takes place in '84, the year Gremlins was released, it's hard to imagine the Duffers will be able to resist an homage to those sunburnt beasties. But as for some not-so-delicious sci-fi cinema, we're also expecting season 2 of Stranger Things to be a bit more stomach-churning than the first, lurching a bit deeper into the realm of gross-out horror. Now, we already saw a taste of what's to come at the end of season 1, with Will Byers coughing up baby Demogorg slugs on Christmas Day, and assuming that wasn't an isolated incident, season 2 may bring us a world where Will, who apparently hasn't been through enough yet for a kid, continues to hide his current status as a monster incubator. In that case, things are bound to get even more dangerous and darker before his secret comes to the surface, and we literally mean to the surface. What we're trying to say is that he's going to be puking up more monsters. It's gonna be so gross. Next up on the Stranger Things season 2 dark list, trauma! This season, we'll be following the characters as they attempt to return to normal after the events of season 1. At the same Netflix event, Levy posed the question, is normal ever possible again in Hawkins, leaving us to reply, yeah, no, probably not. In fact, things can barely ever be normal in a town where the main attraction is a giant secret government facility that kidnaps and tests super children, so the normalcy scale is already slightly skewed. But what's interesting about Levy's take on season 2 is that we'll see our beloved kid crew and their families dealing with the real-world effects of the super traumatic happenings in this town, because yes, it is all fun and games when you're monster hunting, but at some point you need to deal with the psychological effects of kidnapping, fake deaths, a terrifying alien almost eating you and your friends, and fun things like that. Yeah, sure. And speaking of core memories, bullies. We've all had them. Maybe we've all been them at some point. Oh, you haven't? Yeah, that's exactly what a bully would say. Season 1 bully Steve Harrington ended up fighting the good fight and not being so bad after all, which is how we like our bad boys. Redeemable. But now we're hearing that a new family unit will be moving into Hawkins from California, and one member of the clan has all of the makings of a potential troublemaker who might outdo Steve Harrington's early-on jerkiness. Billy, to be played by the Red Ranger himself, Dacre Montgomery, is described in Screen Rant as a confident and edgy tough guy who steals girlfriends from their boyfriends and has a violent and unpredictable nature. Sounds like this is someone who not only out-bad boys season 1 Steve, but could also give him a run for his money and come for Nancy. And finally, we're hearing that Mr. Will Byers himself, Noah Schnapp, is bringing the feels in his expanded role outside of the Upside Down. In an interview with Mashable, Levy admitted to being surprised at just how good of an actor Schnapp turned out to be, even saying that he and the Duffer Brothers traded texts on set about how much Noah was crushing it. Yeah? In a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Schnapp hinted that he'd like to see the character of Will turn evil, which would definitely be a dark turn for a show that kept all of its kid heroes pretty true of heart right up until the last episode. But whatever the fallout from Will's time in the Upside Down is, it's probably not going to be pleasant. And while we're psyched to hear that Schnapp has the acting chops to take on a much meatier role, we can't help but think his performance is bound to make Hawkins feel even shadowier than it did in season 1. But what do you folks think? Are you excited to see Stranger Things go even darker in season 2? And what other 80s influences do you want to see the Duffer Brothers drawing on? Let's discuss. And folks, Dan's got an all-new episode of The Dan Cave. He's breaking down one of the greatest X-Men storylines of all time, the Dark Phoenix Saga. It's outrageous. Be sure to like and subscribe and keep checking Nerdist.com.